How to handle a situation where customers are complaining about the initial payment. Now we're talking about customers that purchased the policy prior to today. So maybe a couple days ago, a week, or just previously. So they're going to walk into the office complaining. So your job is going to be to help them understand that the initial payment was accurate, that everything was done correctly, but you have to follow a system. So we're going to look at four different solutions. Now, solution number one, offer an introduction of what you're going to be doing for them. So, number one, tell the customer not to worry, that you're going to do your best to make sure that they leave satisfied. Number two, let them know that you're going to review the application to determine what options were offered. Number three, emphasize on the fact that our intentions are positive and we follow good ethics. Number four, our goal is always to fulfill their request to make sure we leave every client satisfied across the board. Number five, open up the HawkSoft and the website and review the application. So you're going to tell them that you're going to review all the paperwork. Solution number two, as you're investigating, as you're looking at both the application and the website, your goal is to understand what type of policy we processed. So, number one, determine what type of driver we insured. Determine if there's a young driver, if there's an older driver, if the driver has tickets, accidents, if they have a license, if they have a matricula. You need to understand that type of situation, that information, to know what information you're going to use to justify, which I'm pretty sure is the information we use to justify in the beginning. Number two, what type of vehicle was insured? Was it a classic vehicle? Was it a vehicle that has a value of $20,000 or possibly a vehicle that has a value of $50,000? What type of vehicle was it? Number three, what coverages were offered? Was it liability, uninsured? Was it comp and collision? You need to have a good perspective of the coverages. Number four, qualify the customer just to have a good idea of their previous situation. So ask them if they had insurance, how much were they paying, did they have an active or canceled policy. Have a good understanding of their previous situation, which is the same process that we take when we're actually helping them from the beginning. Now, having a good idea of the coverages or the type of policy that they had before is going to give us an understanding of what options we offered. Number five, determine how much submission was and determine what the broker's fee was, just to have an idea. Maybe the total was $150 and it was a $30 broker's fee, but the customer's still complaining simply because they felt the $150 was more than what they should pay. So there's situations that they may be complaining when the actual initial payment or the broker's fee is very low. So you need to understand that. Number six, you're going to need to fully understand the situation before you start justifying, simply because if you don't understand their situation, the options that we processed, you're not going to be able to get your point across. Now, solution number three, educate the client on the concept of the initial payment. So number one, introduce the 30-day exposure and emphasize on the fact that companies lose a lot of money in the beginning, therefore they always require a little bit more. Number two, emphasize on the fact that insurance companies pay a lot of money on claims and losses, so they're not able to offer an option just to start the policy with the monthly payment. Number three, introduce a loss ratio to give them an idea on how insurance companies evaluate their losses. Number four, emphasize on the fact that every situation is a high risk for the client, for the company. So therefore, the company is always going to require a little bit more, simply because they're actually offering limits of liability or uninsured or covering the value of the vehicle. So in this case, you're going to determine what the situation is, and you're going to use justifying factors to convince them on the reason why the company may have a higher risk. Number 5, use real life situations or real life examples to make it tangible, to give them an idea that the reason why they were responsible to pay a little bit more was simply because the insurance company is requesting more because of the exposure or the losses that they could actually have. Number 6, introduce the concept, not the details, but the concept that we always offer 2 to 3 different options, and I'm pretty sure the option that was processed was the option that they selected. Solution number 4, reconfirm that everything was done correctly. So number 1, explain that after reviewing the application and confirming all the paperwork, that your conclusion was that everything was done correctly, that it doesn't seem like there was any type of mistakes or any confusions, at least not within the application. Number 2, explain to the customer that insurance companies are the ones that are responsible for the rates. Our goal is just to determine what option is the lowest, and we're technically just offering the options. Number 3, emphasize on the fact that there's other options that we have on the system, and I'm pretty sure they could have been offered when they were purchasing the policy with a lower rate, a lower initial, but not covering or not offering the coverages that they wanted. So simply letting them know, look, there was an option, you could have paid less on your initial payment, but it would have given you liability, but you need comp and collision. Or it could have given you coverage for 2 drivers, but not the young driver. So you always have to justify by comparing different situations. Number 4, thank them for the opportunity, thank them for the time that they're giving us, at least to explain everything. Let them know that it seems like everything was done correctly. Once again, emphasize on the ethics, emphasize on the fact that our goal is to help them. And number 5, ask them if they still have any other questions. If they still have additional questions, then you may have to get a supervisor involved. But if you follow these steps, it should be more than enough to educate, justify that the option that was given to them was the best option.